But I'm excited for this one here. We're doing the point for point rankings in MMA today. So we're going to go through all the rankings here and give our opinion on where we actually think they should be compared to where they actually are in the list. So
And
yeah,
for
it
those
should
of
be
you that are
good.
brain dead, this is not our rankings. We're reviewing MMA fighting's rankings. This isn't just for the UFC either. Again, disclaimer, shut up, not our rankings. Don't you dare accuse us of making this list.
Yeah, so it does have some fighters outside of the UFC on this, but realistically, most of this list will be UFC fighters because that is where the best fighters are. So
Yeah.
first up, we have got Alexander Volkanovski in at number one. Negative. Remove that guy from the number one spot.
Alexander Volkanovski is not even number two. So I personally have John Jones at number one. When John Jones is fighting and is winning and is champion, he is not anything but number one. That is not possible. He is the greatest fighter of all time. People could call me a John Jones glazer. I've criticised this guy to death, but he cannot be anything other than number one. And as Don Dada will say in a second, I'm sure, Islam Makhachev beat Alexander Volkanovski. Why is he behind Alexander Volkanovski? Don.
Yeah, Alexander Volkanovski definitely shouldn't be number one now. The John Jones one, I do see your argument for it. For me, it has to be Islam Makhachev at number one. I don't like, and the whole argument based on that is the UFC built this fight between him and Volkanovski as whoever wins this is pound for pound number one.
And so did the
Islam,
fans.
yeah, and Islam beat him. People are going to say it was a close fight. Yes, that's because they are the two best, in my opinion, currently in the sport. But Islam beat him. Because Volkanovski looked better in the end of the fifth round doesn't mean that he won the fight. It's like that Nate Diaz thing where like he rocks Leon Edwards after being smoked the entire fight, and then people try and claim that if it was a real fight he won. It's crap. It doesn't make any sense to me. Alexander Volkanovski, in my opinion, is two. I would have him above John Jones personally, just because he has
Yeah.
been more active as of recent. But number one for me has to be Islam. So
And another thing is, a lot of Volk fans will try and say, yeah, but Volk's the guy who came from the weight below. If you think Volk won that fight, by the way, of course, I guess I kind of can see. If you think Volk won the fight, it was a close fight. I didn't really see any arguments for Volk to win, to be honest with you. I think
yeah, me
most
neither.
people that say Volk won are biased, and neither of these two are my favourite fighters. And I just think from an unbiased point of view, like if you say a lot of Islam fans will say he destroyed Volk. No, he definitely didn't, as well. But the fight was promoted by the fans, all fans accepted before the fight. Whoever wins is pound for pound number one. And then after the fight, it suddenly changes just because Volk came from featherweight to lightweight. But Volk's a natural lightweight anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with. And the fact that when he did win, they had him like joint first. Why? Just stick to what you said. So for me,
Yeah.
my top three would go Islam, Volk, and John Jones. What would your top three be then?
So mine would be John Jones at number one, Islam Makhachev at number two, and Alexander Volkanovski at number three. Moving in at number four, Leon Edwards is absolutely bang on, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with this one. What I don't agree with though, I mean, there's nothing really else to say about Leon being number four. We both agree. Number five, Oliveira. No,
How
no.
can, right, I'll say this. Just how, how, if you're not a champion, how the hell are you above champions?
Yeah, he
I
can't.
do not
I
agree
just don't
when
get
the
it.
UFC does this. Like the UFC's own rankings, I remember they had Jamal Hill like 15th or 12th when he was champion. How can you have non-champions above champions? That's not good for promoting your fighters who are champions. And number two, they're not champions. The best fighters in the world are the champions of the divisions. So Charles Oliveira shouldn't even be top 10. Love Charles Oliveira, one of my favourite fighters. I hope he beats Islam Makhachev. If he does beat Islam Makhachev, he's probably back into the top six. But, Don, give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah, looking at this list here, Oliveira does not deserve the number five spot. Just he's not a champion, like you said, and there's other guys who are champion on this list that are on better win streaks. Oliveira's on a 1-5 win streak. He beat Beneil Dariush. That's the only win he's had. Before that, he had that loss to Islam. I don't think he deserves to be five. Maybe you could argue, just going through the list here and looking, I would probably have him above Alex Pereira. So I'd maybe give him the number 11 spot, to be honest, but he's definitely not top 10. In at number six, we have got Demetrius Johnson. Now, I'm not a big fan of one championship. I don't really pay much attention to that organization, if I'm being honest. I will watch when Demetrius Johnson is fighting, but compared to other people on this list, like I said at the start of this, the UFC, love it or hate it, is where the best competition is. And I just don't think you can justify having Demetrius Johnson in at number six currently where he's fighting, in my opinion. I just don't think he can.
Yeah, so I actually think, although yes, I agree with you. Again, disclaimer: I don't watch one championship. I did watch his fight with Adriano Moraes. Demetrius is one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's been UFC champion. He's one championship champion. But I would possibly see an argument for him at 10, even though he's not in the UFC anymore. I think he's that good that I could still make an exception for him at 10. But like Lewis said, the one championship title doesn't hold a candle to a UFC title. One championship fans might not like that, but it's very true.
Yeah,
Um,
like I do
and,
think he
and
should be in the top 10 rankings. I just don't. I think six is far too high for him.
yeah, and Sean O'Malley 7. No, again, I'd have Sean O'Malley 5th.
Yeah, O'Malley should be above Demetrius Johnson and Oliveira, in my opinion. There's more people that later on the list we're going to get on to that I think deserve to be still in the top eight, and they aren't, but we'll get on to them when we cross them people. But yeah, O'Malley, in my opinion, deserves to be boosted up. Like I've said before, I'm probably the only Aljamain Sterling fan, but Sean O'Malley beat the greatest bantamweight of all time in Aljamain Sterling.
And
He
batter,
deserves to
like he
be
didn't
moved
batter
up.
him, but he knocked him out in very convincing fashion. So
Yeah,
I'd have, like, here's the thing as well. Kamaru Usman has not won a fight in his last two fights.
yeah,
And he's probably the second greatest welterweight of all time. He's one of the greatest fighters, period, of all time. But to have Pantoja below a flyweight champion who's not in the UFC, to have Pantoja below Charles Oliveira, to have Pantoja below Kamaru Usman, to have Sean Strickland, am I seeing that?
yeah. And at number 10.
To have Sean Strickland at number 10 after what he just did to Israel Adesanya is laughable. That's a terrible ranking. In fact,
Yeah,
so here's how I think it should go from. It should be John Jones 1. It should be Islam 2, sorry. Alexander Volkanovski 3. Leon 4. Sean O'Malley 5. And Sean Strickland 6 with Alessandra Pantoja 7.
yeah, I agree. Usman, I actually missed his title reign, to be honest. That guy was
Yeah, that
he
was
was
a great one.
cringy as hell, but he was active. That guy was active. He was always game
Yeah,
to fight. But in at number 8 above Pantoja and Sean Strickland, absolutely not. I I honestly wouldn't have him in just looking at this list here. I'd have him. I don't even know if I'd put him above Max Holloway and Alex Pereira at the minute, to be honest.
not
Um,
Max Holloway.
no, yeah. At the end, I'll probably once I figure out where everybody is, I'll go through what way I would have my top 10. But yeah, Usman, great fighter, second greatest welterweight of all time in my opinion, but does not deserve to be number 8 in the pound for pound rankings. Pantoja,
I,
like we've said, he needs to be above Kamaru Usman. Same with Sean Strickland. He beat arguably the best middleweight of all time. I know a lot of people won't agree with that, but look at the title defenses he's had. And I mean, I did see a lot of people say he wasn't dominant as a champion. He was. Israel
Very.
was. He was boring in certain fights, yes, but he was dominant. Um, and what Sean Strickland done, it wasn't like a lucky KO punch. He schooled him for 4 out of the 5 rounds. So
I
yeah,
think the big debate is Sean Strickland above Sean O'Malley? It's tough. Um, I
No,
don't think Pantoja is. Pantoja is, I think, he should be above Johnson, he should be above Oliveira, and he should be above Usman. But I definitely have, whether you put Strickland before or O'Malley or whatever, I have Pantoja below them.
I would have O'Malley at 5, just looking at this here, Strickland in at 6, and Pantoja in at 7, to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, if Sean Strickland had a beat Izzy when he was on that run where he hadn't been beaten in so many fights, then I probably would
yeah.
have had him higher up. But I mean, Izzy was only on like a 1 fight win streak really after that. So yeah, we've basically covered the top 10. Now on to 11 onwards. We've got Alex Pereira in
Just
at number 11.
before I get onto Alex, I actually just realised. So the only non-champion currently I would definitely have in that top 10 is Jamal Hill. Because Jamal Hill should technically be champion still. I don't agree that he was stripped. I didn't agree that Yuri was very long term, and so I guess so is Jamal's. But I think Yuri should be higher first of all in this list because he technically never lost his belt. And I think Jamal Hill, whether he is technically a pound for pound top 10 fighter and whether or not he would have held the belt for long or not is irrelevant. In my opinion, he's just lost the belt to something that was uncontrollable. He should be in the top 10, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy they don't even have him on this list. I mean,
At all. Yeah, they couldn't wait to get rid of him.
it's so like we'll get on to this, but they've got Hamzat on this list, but not Jamal Hill. How does that make any sense? It's crazy. But yeah,
Um,
Alex Pereira in at 11. What do you think of that one?
I
Yeah,
don't mind Alex Pereira in the top 15 because Alex Pereira's just lost again. He lost the belt. He's won the belt, didn't defend it, but then he's won again against Jan Blachowicz. He's fighting for the title, isn't he, against Yuri?
yeah, yeah.
So I do agree with Alex, but I don't agree. I agree with him being in the top 15, but I would have Yuri above him.
Yeah, Alex Pereira, it's a difficult one. I mean, the guy has beat 3 former champions in the space of, I want to say, what, his last, what, 4 fights it would be. He's beaten 3 former world champions. He did lose the Adesanya, yes. But it's crazy to think how little fighting experience in terms of MMA this guy has and the level of competition that he's beat. Like that
Yeah.
performance against Jan Blachowicz, I really didn't think he was going to beat him. And he had a rocky first round, but then he started them leg kicks. He chewed Jan Blachowicz's leg up. They were brutal.
Mm.
So I'm happy enough to maybe have him in at 11 to be. I'd maybe have Yuri above him. I'd have both Yuri and Jamal above him, but definitely inside the top 15, like you said.
And then
Yeah,
Max
Max
Holloway,
Holloway.
I think
Yeah,
Max Holloway is kind of valid because he's on a tear. Um, he had a good title run a long while ago, but I can't believe that was like a good while ago now.
yeah,
But Max Holloway, when he's not fighting Volk, he's the second best in the featherweight division. But he's on a pretty good win streak. Beat Yair, beat Arnold Allen, knocked out the Korean Zombie, very past his prime, but still, he's still pretty dominant. So I kind of agree with 12th, bang on in a way.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I think Max Holloway, similar to Alex Pereira, does deserve to be in the top 15. I think he deserves to be in there. Well, I mean, does he over Alex Pereira? Just after saying the guy's beat three
Oh,
former world champions in his last, what, 4 fights?
wait, I've just realised something. Oh, Lord, oh, that's tough. Because Aljamain Sterling and Israel Adesanya should be 11th and 12th.
We'll get to that. We will get to that. That needs to have. There needs to be serious conversations had about that. Whoever made this list.
Yeah. Oh,
Um.
Lord. It's a very hard. I feel like the top 20 from 10 to 20 is harder to rank than the top 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Max Holloway. I'd probably have Alex Pereira above Max Holloway currently, based on what I said. The 3 champion. Well, I mean, Sean Strickland's just became champion, but that win is even better now after what he done. The Adesanya. Um. in at 13, Yuri Prohaska, we've both said the guy never lost his belt. I personally think he is overrated, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I think both Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill beat him, but the guy never lost his belt, like you said. So yeah, he needs to,
Like he was a champion on a big win streak. We do
yeah,
think he's overrated. We're not trying. This isn't us going over who would win in fights, but factually, going off he never lost his belt. Really, he should be in the top 15 at least.
yeah, I would have him above both Max and Alex, to be honest.
Yeah,
Now this is where it's going to get interesting. I actually need to talk about this. How is Aljamain Sterling number 14th? Genuinely how? We have
I just don't. And
Aljamain
right, here's
Sterling in
another
at
thing.
14th, but we've got Oliveira, Demetrius Johnson, and Usman inside the top 10. What?
Aljamain Sterling is heavily hated.
Yeah,
I
and
think.
like honestly, like eh, he in my opinion is above Yuri, Max, and Alex, and he's above Usman, and he's above Demetrius Johnson and Charles Oliveira. Um, this guy is so underrated. I've been saying it for ages now. I mean, it didn't look good how he got finished by Sean O'Malley. I'm just going to make this clear now. If they rematched, Aljamain Sterling beats him. Aljamain
Yeah,
Sterling beats
probably.
Sean O'Malley if they rematch. And see all this back and forward on Twitter where like O'Malley's like, no, he won't fight him. That's because he knows that he's going to get beat if they rematch. Just letting everybody know that. And what else I want to go over is the fact that Dana White, after the Sean Strickland Adesanya fight, in the post-fight press conference said, Adesanya deserves an immediate title rematch, but he won't give Aljo one. Why is that? Aljamain Sterling was on the longest win streak in bantamweight history before that loss. The guy, in my opinion, like I said, I do believe he is the greatest UFC bantamweight of all time. Just look at who he's beat. I don't care about the TJ Dillashaw was injured. That's not Aljo's fault. He fought who was put in front of him that night. The Yan fight was close. Yan's an amazing fighter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just Henry Cejudo, another close fight. Some people actually said Henry Cejudo was up there with one of the best bantamweights of all time. I don't know how you get that whenever the guys had what 3 fights there. But yeah, Aljamain Sterling, he deserves to be what I mean. We'll figure it out at the end, but I'd
I,
argue his case to be in the top 10.
so my Aljo take is I'll give you my top 10 right now. I think we should do our entire top tens just so people are very certain. My top 10, I'll go over it and then I'll give you yours, Don.
Yeah,
Mine is John Jones at 1, Islam Makhachev at 2, Alexander Volkanovski at 3, Leon Edwards at 4. I would have Sean O'Malley at 5, Sean Strickland at 6, Alexander Pantoja at 7. I would have Aljamain Sterling at 8. I would have Israel Adesanya at 9. Love him or hate him, losing 10 places is mad.
that's ridiculous.
And then I probably would have Jamal Hill at 10, just because Jamal Hill didn't lose the belt technically and he has only just lost it.
Yeah, so I'll go for mine then. In at number 1, Islam. In at number 2, Volkanovski. In at number 3, John Jones. 4, Leon Edwards. 5, Sean O'Malley. 6, Sean Strickland. 7, Pantoja. 8, Aljamain Sterling. 9, Israel Adesanya. And number 10, um, yeah, I want to put Demetrius Johnson in there because he is a champion, but again, the level of competition there, it's not that great. So I would maybe I'd put Yuri Prohaska in at 10 above Jamal Hill because he was on that win streak. So that's why I would have him in above him.
Yeah. So again, people, we both, I don't know if I'm a massive fan of Israel Adesanya, to be honest with you guys. I know Don definitely isn't. If you've watched past episodes, you know, the Don has not been kind to Israel Adesanya one bit. But at the end of the day, he should, why is he dropping 10 places? You know, that's a bit crazy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like I don't get that. How? how he drops 10 places from that loss like that. I just don't get it. And then in at number 16, we've got Gaethje, fair enough. Um, Sergio Pettis in at 17 again. No, sorry, no. I mean, I don't.
Sergio Pettis, I mean, didn't he get cut from the UFC or did he leave it?
Yeah, he no. I think he left and went to Bellator, and he is a champion. I'm
Yeah,
near certain. But again,
he's pretty
similar to
good.
Demetrius Johnson, the the best fighters in the world are in the UFC. They're not in Bellator.
No, I think even one championship is a better fight as the Bellator, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I agree. Maybe I'm just ignorant and just I just prefer to
Yeah.
watch the UFC. Like I'm not obsessing over Bellator. I don't really like their events to be honest, really. I mean,
And
some
then
to put on just aren't great. And then Hamzat in at 18. How?
shouldn't even be top 20.
No, like how? This is why I say sometimes that I do believe that Hamzat's overrated. This guy doesn't deserve to be in the top 20. Who has he beat?
Yeah, he's
Like
not
who
beaten
has he
anyone.
beat really?
Not, I mean, he's not beat. He's beat Kevin Holland, the Leech, and Gilbert Burns, but he's not beaten anyone to warrant a top 20 place. Like even
He,
Dustin Poirier,
yeah,
who's lost to Justin Gaethje,
how is
how
he
is he
above
above Dustin
Dustin?
Poirier?
Yeah,
You know,
doesn't make
Justin
doesn't make
Gaethje.
any
By the way,
sense.
Justin Gaethje above Charles Oliveira. Justin Gaethje below Charles Oliveira on this list, but I actually think when Charles Oliveira in my actual list, I think I do have Charles at 16 and maybe Justin at 17.
Yeah, no, I would still have Charles above Gaethje. Um, but yeah,
And then
the
Dustin
Hamzat,
Poirier, man, doing him dirty, putting him below Hamza. And I'm looking. Dricus Duplessis has fallen out of the top 20. Why was he ever there?
yeah.
Why the hell was he ever there?
But see, to be fair though, see, looking at this list, I would rather have Drickus in there than have Hamzat. Like at least Drickus beat Robert Whitaker.
Yeah,
Hamzat hasn't beat anybody at that level.
like no, I'm sorry, Dry. I'm sorry, Dry, because I'm sorry. You're not gonna ever see this, but I'm sorry. You know, I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's just, this is a very this is a ranking list that I just don't resonate with at all. Like, I just don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, it's a
I don't
weird
think I've
rankings.
agreed with a single position except Leon Edwards.
Yeah, that's the only one we've agreed with. Having Leon at 4, that's the only one. Man, like I can't get over that they've got Aljo and Adesanya at 14. How?
I mean, Sean Strickland at 10 is a war crime.
Yeah, that's
People need to realize
ridiculous.
Sean Strickland didn't get lucky against Israel Adesanya. He whooped him for 5 straight rounds. A prime Israel Adesanya. Don't dare say he's not, people, because he is. He fought the same way against Jared Cannonier in a convincing win that he fought against Sean Strickland. It just didn't work. You know, this is what people need to realize. You know, the way he beat Alex Pereira, he tried it against Sean Strickland. It didn't work.
Didn't work.
The same way Sean Strickland tried to beat Alex Pereira, the same way he beat Adesanya, but it didn't work. This is just how styles match up sometimes, people. Sean Strickland, yeah, he's getting treated like this big underdog, which he was. It was a big upset, but he's getting treated like he's like this lucky champion, like
Yeah,
Rocky. He's not. He's a very capable fighter. Whatever you think of him as a person, he's a very, very good fighter and always has been.
yeah. I'm just like I just don't get why Adesanya loses. And like you said, he was dominated in that. And then they go on to be like, oh, but Izzy looked flat tonight. Izzy looked this. Izzy looked that. No, Adesanya looked the same he always looked. Like he looks the same nearly in every fight. Strickland was just that
Yeah,
good. He was just that good. But yeah,
I agree.
that is our point for point rankings. I'll be interested to see if anybody actually agrees with who they agree with, me or Ben. Um,
Yeah,
Tomorrow is the breakdown. We're gonna do the breakdown for the full fight card of the fight night Garasso Shevchenko. I'm actually really looking forward to that card, and
especially
especially the
Holland and
co-main
Jack
event.
Della.
Yeah,
Yeah, Yeah.
I was going to get my prediction there for that fight, but I'll save it for tomorrow because I've actually got quite a lot to say on that. But yeah, that's it. Get in the comments who you agree with, me or Ben, and